Hey, we're back at it again. This weekend we are we're going to make some templates to help me fix the front fender on the 64. Well, actually, both fenders, left and right. The passenger side is a bit worse than the driver's side. But anyways, I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this brand new fender and this pizza box to make the templates that I need to be able to fix the fenders on the 64. So these are the parts that we're fixing. As you can see, like last week, I put the radiator support and inner filler panel, lost for words today, put the filler panel in place so that I can use this as my reference to fix this collision damage right here. And we got the same thing on the other side, which is, it's considerably worse here on this side. You know, as you can see, it's pushed in a lot more right there. It's got some wrinkles in it, both wrinkles going towards the inside and of course the outside as well. But you can see that, you know, this just doesn't line up with the good filler panel. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make templates to help me fix that. All right, so I cut a slice out of the pizza box, and this is the piece I'm going to use here to make the guided template. So what I do here is, this is going to be my back reference, the fold right there. And of course I draw a line right here because I need to cut a piece out of this right here, so that this section here will wrap all the way around to where the fender fastens to the end of the filler panel right down here. So we're going to do that. Take a cut out of it. Now this doesn't have to be precise, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Okay, so we're just approximating right now. That's all we're doing. It's there. So what I'm going to do now is fasten this in place, and then we use the compass to do a trace. But I guess the truth is, we could probably use the compass right now to do the trace. So let's give that a shot. So I've done my first trace, as you can see here. So if we line it up, we see that the pencil line, although it's probably not all that easy for you to see, is pretty accurate to the new fender. Now if we take it over to the old fender, we'll see if we have to make any adjustments, because I know that there's a bit of a gap right here. So this template's kind of sinking in a little bit. I might have to trim some more of this off to match up with the curved line here. That we'll see how it fits on the old fender. All right, so here we go. Let me shed a little light on the situation. So take this here, see how it fits. I see that it's standing out a little bit right here. The line isn't quite up to the fender because, like I said, the edge of this is sinking into the gap on the new fender. You know, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of trimming right there. And you can see up here where the line lines up with the front edge of the filler panel. So that's where, you know, this part of the fender needs to pull forward a bit. So let's go trim that. We're going to do this freehand. Now I'm going to cut just on the inside of the line that I've drawn. I don't want to take too much off right now. I just want to see, you know, better off to take off too little than too much. There. Get that off of there. There we go. let's go try that. All right, so that's better. One thing I do notice though is that the curve on the new fender is not quite the same as on the original fender. Although I don't know, I don't know how much of that right here in this little dip right there is attributable to the the collision damage on this fender not matching up. But I suppose I'll find out once I start to pull this out. So what needs to happen here is this needs to come out more, and this buckle needs to be tapped in. So this template actually should work for both sides, both left and right, although the line is only on one side here. I'd have to put the same line on the other side. But now I want to do another one of these templates a little bit higher up, right here, all the way across. So I'm going to go do that. So now I take my new piece that I just cut out of the pizza box and take the piece that we've already cut. So I know I've got this curve correct here, right here. So what I'm going to do is just place this one over top of the new piece using this edge here as my guide. So we go like this, put it right there, and then I want to draw that curve in there. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that out, and then we're going to do a test fit over there and see how close to the actual curve I am with that. And this may take a few tries to get it right, so let's go give it a shot. All right, a quick fit on the old fender. It's not even close. So we're going to work on the new fender here to make this piece. So I set it about 1.5 inches above this baseline here, so that the cardboard comes across here roughly in the middle. So now what I want to do is I want to take my compass and set it to set the space between the pencil and the scribe to the distance here in this gap. So we're probably looking at, I'm gonna estimate roughly 1/4 inch right now. So let's see. It's probably a little bit less than that. That seems to be working. So I'm going to tighten it down and see what we get. So let me tighten this down so it doesn't move. Oh, this side. There we go. Now, so I take this again, put it in position, and so I want to scribe. Now I want to draw the line on the parts that need to be trimmed off. So I'm going to do that there, and then this needs to be trimmed. So I go down until it's past the edge of the cardboard. Okay. Now I trim that off, and we'll see what we get. So that's not bad. I had to, tweak it a little bit, trim, test fit, trim, test fit, but I got a pretty decent fit there. That's not bad. It's not exact, but it's a close enough because you consider it's really just a reference. But now I want to go around this curve on the front of the fender. So what I need to do is move this cut back a bit so that I can get more distance on the cardboard around the front of this curve. So what I'm going to do is trace this curve out, and then set it back and cut it over again, but I'm going to leave some excess hanging off right here so that it wraps around the front of the curve on that fender. All right, so now I have to take this measurement here. I'm looking for my cardboard template. I'm looking to recover about we'll say 1.75 inches, because you know we want to move that curve. We want to move this curve right here. We want to pull it back so we have at least 1.75 inches right there that's going to wrap around. So what I did was I used the ruler and the razor knife, cut a nice straight edge there, and on my other piece that I'm going to use, that I'm going to trace it to, I cut a nice straight edge on that. So I have a good reference now. So what I'm going to do is make sure I have, let's bring the camera over, make sure I have 1.75 inches right here where I'm expecting it to wrap around. So we're going to mark 1.75 inches here, which happens to be right about there. Actually, I should just go to 2 inches. That way I got some overlap around the end of the fender there, and I can just cut off any excess if I want. Okay, so I've got 2 inches there. So now I'm going to take the template that I just cut, mark it at 2 inches. Draw a straight line. Okay, and so I set this down on this piece so that the lines line up, or rather the line that I just drew lines up with the edge of the piece that I'm going to trace the curve onto, just like that. So let me get the tape. I'll tape this in place and we'll continue. So they're taped together now. Cut them like that with the, you know, the 2 inch overlap. Now I'm going to trace this out, and I'm going to want to cut I'm going to want to cut this, you know, cut this out of this piece. So this is going to be my new reference piece. But I don't want to cut this off here. I want to keep that. This is what I want to remove here. So I want to be able to retain some of this here so that I can work on the curve that fits around the front of the fender. So I'm going to trace it out like so, and then I'm going to cut it out. So I want to take my original piece and I want to find out where that curve starts. I've cut most of it, except I haven't cut beyond this point. So I guess in reality we'll think about this this curve here is starting back here and finishing off right about there. That's the, you know, the length of the fender right there, or at the curve, that is. So I'm going to take that and transpose those marks to my template right there and there, and that way hopefully I don't cut too much off. All right, so that's not bad. An initial test fit looks like I've got a bit of a gap here at the front around that curve, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a bit less than that, 1/16 of an inch or so. But if all I'm really looking for is a shape reference for you know, like reshaping this section right here, then this is quite a bit closer than just you know, like trial and error. I have something to check it against. So I'll cut this extra off here, and this is going to be my reference piece for 1.5 inches up from the bottom. Now I want to consider whether or not this is pushed in right here. So, and I know it's going to be on the passenger side, the driver's side. Might not be, maybe a little bit, but I'm going to create another one and probably use this hole here as the height reference. So we'll create another one back here. All right, I'll get to it. So for this, now if I take my first trace piece, that I used for, the 1.5" elevation right here, I can, I'm pretty close on this right here. There's some differences though, because the dip here is much more dramatic than it is up here. So the dip is not as deep up here, in line with that hole in the front of the fender where the trim fits, right? So what I'm going to do is, I see that I've got some gap here, and it's in direct contact right here, but there's some gap here. That's not bad. It's turned out pretty good. So I've got just a little bit of margin in a couple of spots here, but overall I don't think that's going to be enough to give you a problem. I've got a little bit of margin right here and a little bit of margin right there, but otherwise it's a pretty decent fit. So now what I'm going to do is mark right there, because that's the front edge of the fender, and this is what I'm going to use to make the final piece that's going to fit up here. I need some overhang right here so that I can hook it on the front of the fender, and then line it up at the rear. So I've traced it out now onto what I hope is going to be my final piece. And you can see how right here I put a little bump out, because if you look at the front of the fender, there's a bump out right there too, before it comes back to the flush surface where the trim mounts to. So I put that on there, and I'll adjust that as I go. Now you can even see where I had the gap on my sacrificial piece between the fender across here, and you can see when I transferred the line, you can see where the low spots are. There's one there and there's one there. So what I could do is take a straight edge with a ruler and compensate for that. And then if I still need to make further adjustments, I can. So what I could do is take the ruler and line it up here so that it overlaps where that gap is. Draw a line across it, and then I can follow that line. And we're talking about a very tiny gap there, like a 1/16 of an inch. There ain't much going on there. So I've got the same thing right over here. So I'm going to do that here. And when I cut it, I'll cut it on the bridge line that I just drew in, rather than the traced line. So I'm going to cut that out and cut it off back here, and we'll see what we got. Now let's see what we got. So we're looking for it to fit right here where that first hole is, and I'd say it looks pretty good. Yeah, and that's a really nice fit right across here. Still got a little bit of a gap right there. I guess bridging that curve didn't quite work right there. But so now we've got a decent reference. And the distance on this, by the way, is 4 1/4 inches up from this baseline right here up to there. So pretty much horizontal across the fender, starting at this hole right here on the front where the trim goes. So there we have our baseline piece, which I've left this on here so it can fit flush. Now it doesn't quite fit the same on here as it does on the original. It seems to be coming out a bit. Well, that's just perception because the angle I'm looking at it. But so we got this piece, and then we got an inch and a half up, so we're going to capture the shape of this curve right here. And so we've got that piece. It's going to be our shape reference. And then the last piece starts right up here, about 4 1/4 inches up, and that gives us the shape of the fender up here. So that's what I've got to work with now. So now I'm going to make a piece that will fasten to these 2 bolt holes right here that I'm going to use to put some tension on the front fender on the car to pull it that way. I'm not assuming I can pull that damage out. I just want to put some tension on it so that when I'm tapping on the metal where it's creased, I don't have to rely on a whole lot of pressure to be able to reshape the metal and push it out, because I don't want to stretch it. So I'm going to make a bracket that I can use, put some tension on here, maybe use a come along against something to pull on it. Not a whole lot, just enough so that I don't have to pound on it so hard. Now we've got the 3 pieces that we're going to work with, and so let's do a rough fit. We'll see. This isn't. I'm not expecting that this is going to. I'm not expecting this is actually going to fit, but it's going to reveal some things. It's going to reveal where where the shape is off, and it's going to tell me what direction it needs to go in. So there's my baseline piece. So it's really pretty good right here. Where the work needs to happen is up front here along the baseline. So, and my template fell over. Let me go get it. So we've got, so this one is 4 1/4 inches up. This is the one that's 1 1/2 inches up, and well, I've got the inner fender or the filler panel in the way right now. So, so you can see where it's actually the majority of the fit ain't bad, although you can see that it's bulged out here, which creates this gap right along here. So it's come out this way, and it's also been pushed in right there. So there's probably a good 1/2 inch, maybe 9/16 gap right there. So that's how much further out that needs to go. So there's that, and then up near the that hole that I was talking about, which should be this one right here. No, I'm on the wrong one. Excuse the back of my head. There we are. Yeah, so this is it. So you can see here that it's created a lengthy gap right here because this is pushed out, and this really isn't right here. This really isn't pushed back, I'd say, at all. Doesn't look like it. It's pushed in this way, so it's sort of curled in. That needs to be curled out. This needs to get pushed back that way, and otherwise, it looks pretty good here. So the majority of the work needs to happen from about here forward. So that's where that's going to happen. So what I need to do here with my templates in order to work on the driver's side is, just flip them around that way, and they should be a good fit, or a good reference, pardon me. So making use of the, some of the resources I have around here, I took, this was the end of a bed rail, the angle piece at the end of the bed rail for fastening to a bed frame. So I flattened it out on the anvil, and this is the piece of metal I'm going to use, as my plate that I'm going to fasten here to these 2 bolts on the fenders that are on the car, and like use this to put some tension on it, to pull on it. So I see here that this hole is fine for the 5/16 bolt, but this one a little too small, so I got to take it over to the drill press and open it up a bit. Okay, so let's open that hole up a bit. Light is on, drill. That didn't take much. Let's see if that 5/16 bolt is going to fit in there. Yep, we're good. Okay. So this is what I'm going to start with. I'm not so sure. Probably going to do something with this. Make it put a loop on it or something so that I can put a come along in there. I think this is too small to get some kind of hook on it. Maybe a piece of chain. Not sure. But I'll go make sure this fits on the fender first. All right. Now we've opened up that hole a bit. This turns in. Now this is certainly a lot easier since I have a new fender to work with. Not everybody has that luxury. But you know, I'm working with what I have here, so that's gonna work on there. All I got to do now is just make up something to be able to pull on that, to create kind of a pulling force, so that you know, when I tap on the sheet metal for the fender on the inside and outside, I don't have to hit it so hard. It's you know, the tension that I put on here is when I want to pull it in the right direction. I've found the perfect hook that I can use to pull on this. So what it was it was just a straight J hook, and you know, so I drilled holes in it to fasten it on there. But one of the things I noticed was that if it was a straight hook, then the center of the pull would be, you know, off axis with the piece that's fastened to the fender. So as you can see, I bent it back a bit. Let's put in the vise and pound on it to bend it back, so that the direction of the pull is in line with the piece of the metal where it's mounted to the fender right here. So I have an option of what I could do is, if I needed to pull out more on the top, I could maybe only fasten that one bolt to pull that out. If I wanted to pull it out evenly, or if I just wanted to do the bottom, you know, I could pull it out that way. So I think that the way the fenders on the car are damaged right now is they're kind of pushed up, in and up at an angle like this. So chances are I'm going to have to pull out on the top more than I will on the bottom. And but you know, we'll see what happens when we get to that point. So here it is, and here's how it's gonna be mounted. Take a closer look. These are the two holes that you saw in the new fender, and it's just sitting there right now. It's not properly fastened, but you know, this is the idea. So I'm gonna put it on here and put some tension on it, so that, you know, when I start banging around here, over there, when I start banging around over there, it's going to take less, you know, less force to be able to return this back to where it belongs, which is, you know, back this way. And I'm going to continue with that next weekend. So now the business side of things. So, you know, if you like what you see here, and you can, you know, subscribe and hit the notification bell, you know, if you want to find if you want to get notified when, you know, the next video comes out, you can do that. Until then, talk to you later.